fragen, was ist das dann für eine Backstory, wenn ich keinen spezifischen Charakter brauche. I shall grant to you a memory fragment of my blessing. Das muss wahrscheinlich irgendwas wirklich sehr Generelles sein, ne? Enclosed is the report on the damage dealt to the former principality of North Ambria by the Salt Pale. Also contained within is research on the Pale itself, holy city of Ataria, congregation for the sacraments. Oh, geht Kevin. Oder Ries. I hereby present this report to you, Your Holiness, ever at the side of the goddess. This report contains classified information and may only be read by those with the clearance to do so. Certain sections of the utmost secrecy have also been blacked out. Progression of events after the Pale's appearance. July 1st, 1178, 5:45 AM. An urgent report came in from Halia's Cathedral in the then Principality, now state, of North Ambria in northern Zemuria. It stated that a giant white pillar, so tall it appeared to kiss the clouds, had appeared on the outskirts of the city. Bishop Alexei, the one who sent the report, behaved as if extremely unsettled by what was happening. By urgent order of the committee, 2 knights of the Gralsritter, the 8 Dominion aka Roaring Lion and his squire, Barkhorn, both of whom were working on another mission in a nearby nation, were dispatched to perform a formal investigation. They hurried to the scene via the 8th Merkaba unit. Please note that the Merkabas had only recently been put into use at this point. They arrived promptly, and at 6:22 AM, this was what they saw. Close the photograph of the object now known as the Salt Pale. At this point, however, it was far larger than the term pale would suggest. It was more akin to a massive tower that soared hundreds of arched into the air. The 2 knights provided the following observation regarding the situation on their arrival. We were met with a mighty hailstorm blowing in our direction from Helios, or so it appeared at first. We eventually realized the storm contained not ice, but salt. The object's surface is completely covered with salt, making it impossible to tell what it may actually look like underneath. The surrounding air has become powdered salt, and it falls to the ground like snow falling on a tundra. The spread of that salinification process was startlingly rapid, and the affected area spread in the blink of an eye. By the time Gralsritter arrived, the entire landscape of the capital had turned into salt, and the lives of many who lived there, like the aforementioned Bishop Alexei, had already been lost. Yet, the spread did not stop there. The day after the Salt Pale first appeared, a vast coniferous forest zone north of the capital crystallized and collapsed. Bridges also collapsed, rendering all of the main highways out of the city unusable. Please note that by this point, then ruler Prince Balmont had already fled the country to a nearby nation. 2 days passed since the Pale's appearance. By this point, roughly half of the entire principality had become a sea of salt. Countless refugees had fled to the southern side of the country because the River Grief stood between it and the affected area. Finally, 3 days after the Pale's appearance, the salinification process stopped at dawn. As a result, the knights were able to advance on the capital of Helios with the hope of investigating the Salt Pale. That afternoon, they finally reached it, but what they found looked completely different from how the Pale had before when they first arrived in North Ambria. Okay, interessant. In the center of the salinified area, they found an object that was a mere 2.5 2.5 arch in height. Its surface was no longer blanketed in salt, rather it looked as if something had been carved out of it. It is now believed that the pale's mass decreases as the salinification process progressed. In its smaller state, the pale had lost its power to turn swathes of the country to salt, but its ability to salinify was still very much intact. Anything that touched it, even for a millisecond, was instantaneously turned into salt. It was one of the utmost importance to handle it with care. In order to complete the mission without physical contact, the Gralsritter required the use of the sacred tool Gleipnir, which was delivered to them from the high seat in Etaria. Was war Gleipnir nochmal? Sind das nicht Arkasen gewesen? Since then it had been kept closely sealed away deep within the high seat in Etaria. Still, while the recovery mission was ultimately deemed a success, the damage already caused was equally vast and significant. No damage to the surrounding nations was reported, but it resulted in the destruction of 3 of the 5 administrative districts of the Principality, including its capital. Over a third of total population, along with travelers from elsewhere, lost their lives. This is to say nothing of the emotional damage caused. Due to its sudden outbreak, the hearts of North Ambria's people were overwhelmed with fear and uncertainty. From a humanitarian and a religious perspective, a swift response from the Septium Church was all but necessary. The decision was made to dispatch personnel to the region right away, and upon arrival they set about rebuilding the damaged churches and healing both the physical and mental wounds of the people. Those who were left orphaned in the crisis were taken to gospel facilities where they would be cared for until adulthood. The northern region of the country, which had been turned entirely to salt, was placed under the church's control. It has been a restricted area ever since. Zu den Kindern gehört wahrscheinlich auch, weiß man, oder? Supplementary notes. After some time, the country's former leader, Prince Balmund, attempted to rebuild the government. But given that he had fled the country during its hour of need, caring only for himself and not his people, all authority he once held was gone. The following year, the country's people led an armed uprising and the Principality of North Ambria was no more. Eventually, elections were held and the country became a democracy, thus bringing about the birth of the autonomous state we know of now. This was also when the former Principality's armed forces reformed as a vigilante corps. Given the extreme poverty of the state, however, the majority of said corps considered gathering foreign currency to be of the utmost importance, so sich nur dann Jäger wahrscheinlich dann ins Spiel bekommen. This was how the large-scale Jägerkorps, known as the Northern Jägers, was first established. Das hätte ich vielleicht einfach einmal weiterklicken sollen. Dann hätte ich auch eine Antwort drauf gehabt. Aber hey. As far as the rest of the Myria is concerned, this is where the tale of the Salt Pale ends, but a number of very important questions still remain unanswered. But the most obvious of these is where it came from. Despite the considerable size of the object and that it appeared on the outskirts of a populated city, no information is available regarding the moment it first appeared. The most important more popular theory is that its appearance was due to something akin to spatial translocation, but no hard evidence exists to support this or any other theory. Of more importance, however, is its positioning in the teachings of the Septium Church. The Pale is clearly different in nature to artifact and appears to be a more fundamental manifestation of the goddess's powers of creation. Committee report. With the limits of our knowledge at present, this is as far as we can get to the truth. There are some who have proposed that maybe one of the Septarian, but no evidence has been found in legend or scripture to support this belief. Nevertheless, these questions and many others need answering, and the Congregation of the Sacraments continues to study the Salt Pale to this day. The most accepted proposal comes from those who believe the Pale should have seen as nothing more than a gift from Adios, and They continue to consider various means for her church to make good use of it. That thing. The most realistic of these plans is using it in the manufacture of a sacred tool used for execution. Parts of the pale are cut away using high-pressure water, then surrounded with a cylinder made from salt crystal, allowing them to be fired directly into the target without requiring the user to make direct contact. Should the bolt make successful contact with the human target, their whole body would turn to salt, killing them in mere seconds. There are no known means for reversing or stopping the process. This approach does not come without flaws. It seems unwise to be careless with an object we still do not understand the true nature of, for one thing. There are also humanitarian concerns with executing someone in this manner. Still, it does bear mentioning that should there ever be a case where a target needs to be eliminated without fail, this would be the most surefire way to carry it out. It should go without saying that research on it is intended to continue into the future. Interessant, dass wir endlich mal ein bisschen mehr über den Salt Pale gelernt haben, oder lernen anscheinend. Appendix regarding the aforementioned sacred tool. Trial use begins for the sacred tool. Top secret work only. Permission granted to use in the execution of wahrscheinlich weiß man. Used in the execution of file from Boga. Ja, weiß man. Results were extremely favorable. No damage was caused to the surrounding area. The target was also successfully erased. Appendix about the target. The target was orphaned by the Salt Pale when it first appeared. A brief history of it as follows. 1180 joined the Septium Church. 1185 joined the Congregation of the Sacraments as an official. 1190 promoted to bishop. Declared a heretic and excommunicated from the church. Ist Bischof gewesen? Ich dachte, er wäre vielleicht ein Dominion gewesen. Bishop? Side story, the Salt Pale finished. Definitiv Zeit, dass wir davon mal was gelernt haben. Okay. So, das hat tatsächlich ja auch Sinn. Challenge, das ich kämpfen muss? I shall grant to you a memory fragment and my blessing. Oder auch nicht. Das scheint ein bisschen mehr leicht Betrug zu sein als die Geschichte eben. I see. I sort of expected it would only be a matter of time before you return to the Republic. Your mind is made up then? Great, so I've made the guys over there take care of everything without me long enough. Called it an rank breaks his duty to peers and society, I guess. Well, I suppose when you put it that way. I do wish you could stay here a little while longer, but if that is your decision, I respect it. So when are you planning on returning? Well, there's no point in lingering here any longer than I have to now that I've made up my mind to leave. So honestly, I was thinking about tomorrow. Think I could ask you to arrange a ticket to Calvert for me? Well, certainly. I not plan to go and visit Kilika first, so I would have thought you'd want to. That was part of the original plan, but she wouldn't have any of it. Surprise, surprise. The stance was, if you're going to waste time coming to see me, you should go back to Calvert earlier and get some work done. Haha, very well then. That doesn't sound like a position you'll be able to talk out of. It's no big deal, so, I mean, not like we'll never see each other again. I suppose that's very true. I'm not sure if there's anything in Lemuria that could keep you two apart forever. Haha, feels like that to me sometimes too. Haha, well, regardless, I won't keep you any longer. So that's one ticket to Calvert for tomorrow, coming right up. Sorry, let me just get this. Yes, this is a council branch of the Bracer Guild. Ah, yes. He's here to speak, actually. Then, sum it up. It's Ambassador Cochrane at the Carvadian Embassy. He'd like to invite you on a hot springs trip. What? Verständlich, dass verwirrt ist. 2 days later. Tja, so viel zu früher abreisen und nie mehr Kilika sehen, ne? Those place sure bring back memories. The atmosphere is so relaxing. It certainly is. Maybe because it feels so similar to our hometown. Still, Ambassador Cochrane had me going for a while. When I first heard about this whole trip, I thought it was just gonna be the two of us out here. Oh my, you look almost disappointed that it isn't. I'd be happy to take my leave if I'm getting in the way of your dream date with her. I'm good saying, she's not someone I've ever seen as a potential partner. Besides, it's you she wants to talk to, not me. This meeting might as well not be happening if you're not here. It never takes much to put you on the defense, does it? Is it beyond you to just play along a little? You just can't help but mess with people, can you? With you in charge of its size guild, I'm amazed it still has any braces left. Correction, I can't help but mess with you. I don't do this with anyone else. Would you be happy if that were true? Hell no! Ah, you've arrived. I've been waiting for you. Hey, Ambassador. Thank you for inviting us here today. Is something the matter then? You seem oddly flustered. Me, I'm just fine. You're imagining things. Who'll blame him, Ambassador? After all, he's a man on a hot spring trip with 2 beautiful women. That's hardly a recipe for a calm and composed mind, is it? Knock it off, Kilika. Huh, I suppose not. If I were a little younger, I doubt I would be able to keep my hands off him myself. Alright, I suppose that's enough joking around. We should get our dinner. Mrs. Mao is going to be making tonight food herself, by the sounds of it. The serious discussion can wait until after that. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Likewise. So there's going to be a new intelligence agency set up in Calvert, huh? That's right. To be known as the Rocksmith Agency. Yes. Wenn ich wissen will, kurz 10 Sekunden. Ich habe meine Faust oben gleich. Die tue ich, solange die jetzt gleich oben ist, weghören. Ich kurz was zu Kuro, also dem neuen Spiel, was dieses Jahr in Japan rauskommt. Der Game Calvert Art. Ab jetzt. Die Rocksmith Agency ist die Gruppe, die die Hauptcharaktere angehören. Nice. Schön, dass wir das jetzt hier erfahren. So, Hand ist unten, ihr könnt wieder zuhören. And as the name suggests, it's going to be an organization that answers directly to the president. Really now? I see. I presume that is so that Parliament can't have any influence over its operations? Correct. Perhaps this new agency's biggest advantage is that it's separate from all those issues and vices. The last thing we need is an organization like this suffering from Parliament's failures to make prompt decisions or general ineptitude, or being run in the same opaque and shady manner by a privileged few. That does sound like a good idea, I'll admit. We're never going to be able to compare it to the Empire's intelligence division or the Bird's old one if Parliament's at all involved. Quite. It's already difficult enough to get anything done in a nation with such a lack of unity. I guess that's just the fate of countries that take an immigrant by the throat, though. So honestly, I think the thing that surprises me the most is that the president actually being proactive for once. He's always struck me as a real conservative type, so this isn't the kind of thing I thought he'd go for. That said, given the state of the Republic right now, it's hardly surprising that he would choose to act this way. Outside the country, we've got the threat of a rapidly expanding and burning empire, while within we have terrorists and extremists. And to make matters worse, we have the enigmatic society on the loose. Evidently, something has to be done, and I think he knows that as well as anyone. Indeed. In the times ahead of us, we're going to need to be able to respond flexibly to a variety of new and unforeseen threats. Alright, I think my introduction to the matter has gone on long enough. About time I get to the point. Oh yeah, you've got something you need to specifically talk to Kilika about, right? So, what position in the agency are you here to offer me? What? I love a sharp mind, Kilika. Your instincts are, of course, dead on. You think your talent would make you perfectly suited to joining the agency and are eager for you to be a part of it. That's why you will be offered a position of division chief should you decide to join. That's something President Rocksmith has proposed himself. Wow. What led to you being the one to bring this to Kilika anyway? Fair question, I suppose. Ordinarily this would be a scout's work, but I've known the president on a personal level for quite some time now, so he took it upon himself to ask me to come to you personally. That makes sense. Then what's his reason for wanting me? Surely you know that without asking, or do you want to hear it said anyway? Naturally, your masterclass title skills are one reason for you being selected by the president, but above all, he wants you for the exceptional analytical and information handling abilities you've shown in your position in the guild. Those are just what the new agency is going to require if it to succeed. Well, I can't say this doesn't all make sense to me. I'm more dumbfounded that you'd up and attempted to steal a capable member of the guild right in front of an active bracer like this. That takes some nerve. Well, I do think rather highly of you. I thought you would be able to mediate without letting such trivial matters cloud your judgment. So, what do you think, Kilika? I'm not asking for an answer immediately, but I would like to know what's going through your mind. Well, it's certainly an interesting proposal. At the same time, I'm not sure I have any reason to accept it, but you have no reason to refuse it either. Am I right? Well, it's rare that you find it difficult to make quick judgments, but with such a big decision to make, I can't very well fault you. I won't rush you. Take a night to think long and hard about it. It was so you could do so that I booked a room here tonight. I'll ask you for your answer again tomorrow. I'm looking forward to hearing it. Of course. Das ist interessant, auch, ne, Kuro betreffend. Und Kevin. Oh, and one more thing before I depart. If you ask me, remaining in your position as a simple guild receptionist just isn't going to let you use your abilities to their fullest. Well, a pleasant night to you both. You're out rather fast. Have you finished in the bath already? Fast? Seriously? I was in there for an hour. Oh. Man, it's not often I see you looking this deep in thought. I suppose you don't. I feel like I'm one step away from making a decision, but just need one last push to take it. Oh, right. Still, being here like this with you really takes me back. Hard to believe it's been 6 years now since Master Ryuga's passing. Sounds like you went on a hell of a journey between then and joining the guild too. You could say that. Going on journey makes it sound like something I did deliberately, though in reality it wasn't quite as organized as that. Simply drifted from place to place before ending up being drawn to one point where I settled. Much in the way a leaf that fell from a tree ends up floating down the river. Were you able to find that answer you mentioned a while back? No, I still haven't. Still, I do feel as though I found a conclusion of sorts. What's that supposed to mean? Say, then, why do you think I chose to take on a non-combat position like guild receptionist to begin with? Because you didn't want to follow the same path that idiots like me and Water? I wouldn't follow Earth either if I were in your shoes. Not quite, although I'm not going to deny that the two of you are idiots. Hey, that was one part I did want you to deny. I want to find out what the meaning of a living fist ideology my father advocated. I still believe that being able to better oneself through combat while your opponent does the same is a good thing in itself. As a warrior, it's probably close to the ideal way. Still, I couldn't help but wonder why the ideology had to be based on the premise of fighting. I can certainly understand the significance of living and dying as a warrior. I can also understand how one who lived that way would have no regrets when the time to pass away came. Nothing has changed within me in that regard since the day we trained together. Yet, with father dead and Walter gone, I couldn't help but wonder whether there was some way to make use of a living fist without having to fight. That was when I started roaming the continent in search of one. As I roamed, I found myself face to face with countless conflicts and acts of violence, and I felt powerless every time I did. That was how I came to encounter the Birds Guild. They had arrived to quell one of those conflicts. Something about their ideology, putting the safety of civilians over all else, made me feel that perhaps working under them may give me my answer. So that was what led me to start working for the guild. But even then, I wasn't able to run away from fighting completely. The nature of humanity means that as long as we exist, conflict will never cease. Instead, what's important is not blindly preaching idealism, but preaching ideals while keeping a firm eye on the reality of how to quell conflict. Master Ryuga's words have never left me. Nor have they left me. But all the same, I've been looking away from reality all this time. Come on now. You know full well that's not exactly actually true. When he says reality, he's not saying fighting is the be-all and all of quelling conflict. That's not what I'm trying to say. All these years, I haven't been trying to walk on my own 2 feet. Not at all. I've just been using trying to find a new way to live my father's living fist ideology as an excuse to stand still. All while indulging myself in the comfortable environment the Guild gave me. Die Frage ist, wann in ihren Reisen ist sie auf Angelica gestoßen? Ich wäre ganz nice gewesen, wenn die hier irgendwie einfach nur so einen Satz gedroppt hätte und während meinen Reisen habe ich ein junges Mädchen getroffen, der ich Sachen beigebracht habe. In that sense, I must be the biggest failure of father's students. I might not agree with the path Walter took, but he, like you, has chosen his own path and started walking forward along it. You two have been facing up to the living fist ideal of fathers and slowly reaching your own conclusions on it. In your own ways, you've been able to face up to reality. And I haven't. I've been standing still the whole time. That's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. You've been working for it just like we have. In what way? It's just that the path you've been walking has been one for others rather than yourself. And whoever you think you've been helplessly drifting through, you've actually been building a bridge so others can easily cross it behind you. When the road is hard, you soften the ground so your fellow guildmates have an easier track. There's no shame in your way of a living fist. It's as true as mine and Walter's. Are you trying to comfort me? Sorry for not having a way with words. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is, you know, as a person, you're way too strong and way too serious. And at times, it's like those two things just end up restricting you and stop you from seeing things you otherwise would. So try to relax a little, alright? Just a little. If you do, I'll bet you'll start seeing things you couldn't before. Say, then, what is it? Would you be happy if I returned to Calvert? What was that on? It doesn't matter, just answer the question. Okay, if I had to pick, I guess I'd rather you be back home, yeah. Why do you ask? Oh, no reason. I've decided I'm going to accept the present proposal. What? Just because what I said? Don't misunderstand me. All I wanted was some kind of reason to bring this journey to an end. as well as a place to make better use of my skills. Das ist weiterhin sehr interessant zu dem, was man schon über Kuro weiß. Wie alt ist sie? That was the best night's sleep I've had in some time. I hope the two of you enjoyed your stay as well. I know I did. I'm feeling very refreshed, thank you. Refreshed enough to feel ready to take on a new position in a new environment even. Then, I would like to accept your offer. However, I have one condition for doing so. Oh, name it. While I'm willing to join the President's new agency, I'm not willing to stop living in line with my own beliefs. As such, if I should end up feeling the slightest doubt about how the agency itself is being run, I will do everything in my power to correct it from the inside using any means at my disposal. If you still want my membership after hearing as much, please tell him that I accept his offer. Oh, that won't be a problem at all. I think he may well be encouraging you to take the reins. I believe he shows you expecting you to fulfill that role should it be deemed necessary. After all, you have experience in the Guild, an organization which has managed to remain neutral and independent all this time. That's no mean feat. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Also, I'll need to get things ready for my successor, so I won't be able to return to Cal for 2 or 3 months. As such, I won't be able to start work till then. That's perfectly understandable. Well, I look forward to meeting you again in the Republic. Likewise. Is something on your mind? Oh, I was just thinking about what you said back there. You said you'll need 2 or 3 months to get everything ready for your successor, right? Yes, I did. What of it? Well, while I'm guessing you're pretty busy over in Cabot right now, too, it doesn't sound as though there's anything so urgent need to be there now. So I was thinking maybe I could stay for the next few months while you get things sorted out before I head out. Beck, you can't be serious. There's no reason why you should stay around here in the bow with me. Go back to Cabot. You don't have to be so cold. It's me, you know? Well, it's the truth. We're not spending enough time together whether you really like it or not after I'm home. You don't need to go out of your way to make more now. Well, you win. There's no need to rush things. Sin? What are you standing there for? Oh. Sorry, you could set that before starting to walk off on your own, though? Side story, Journey's End, finished. Yin und Yang, geil. Das ist geil. Open Chloe. So, dann kann der Haze auch raus. Das brauche ich, um Artelas zu bekommen. Artelas ist 18 Wasser, 8 Erde, 4 Ding. Ich brauche 8 Erde. Und das, gucken wir mal hier. Ne, nicht Shop, sind halt Quartz, Earth. Bringt halt nur 5, ne? Wer hat eigentlich die Verteidigung 3 drin? Er. Ist auch noch irgendwer. Defense 2. Defense 3 würde halt reichen, ne? Deswegen. Warte mal, wer hat hier gerade Defense 2 noch? Du. Defense 2 mal raus. Du kriegst Defense 2. Sprich Defense 3. Das passt schon so erstmal. Okay. Da. Die dritte Sonnentür. Heute sehr viel reden. Bitte sag mal, dass das Minispiel besser ist als das mit Kapua. Please.